When Chevrolet announced a 238-mile range for their Bolt EV, people called it a game changer, and really it's hard to argue the point. 238 miles is enough to get the job done in pretty much any situation other than some serious long-distance driving. But that's only if it does exactly what it says it does, right? Well, let's find out. Hi, I'm Mike Perkins from CarGurus, and this week I'm going to see if the 2018 Chevrolet Bolt EV is everything that people say it is. Now, to test that out, we're going to load up the Bolt with 2 dudes, a dog, and some gear, and drive out to Mount Diablo. That's about a 40-mile drive followed by a 17-mile climb that should do a great job of draining some electrons. If all goes well, we should be able to make it there and back without having to recharge. Also, I've already been driving this for more than a week and I haven't recharged once, so let's see how we do. You ready? Let's go! This is the Premier trim, which is the more expensive of the 2 trims offered by $4,300. But you can get into a base LT for $37,495, and you're going to get xenon headlights and LED running lights. You'll get keyless entry and ignition and auto climate control, plus this 10.2-inch touchscreen, which runs a special version of Chevy MyLink. And it also comes with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is very important because there is no navigation available otherwise. But the cool part is the energy pages. Here you can see exactly how much energy you've used, how many miles you've traveled, and what's using all of the energy. And you even have 3 available themes you can pick from. And we're going to be checking back in here as we go along to see exactly how we're doing with regard to energy usage. Now, there aren't a lot of options for the LT, but you can deck it out with the $555 Comfort and Convenience package for an auto-dimming rear view, heated front seats, and a leather-wrapped heated steering wheel. And that's required to add the $495 Driver Confidence package that gets you the blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic and rear parking sensors. But this Premier comes with all of that and adds leather seats, heated rear seats, ambient interior lighting, roof rails, and a top-down camera system. Is that worth another $3,000? Probably not unless you live somewhere cold, because with no vents in the rear, passengers could get a little chilly. Honestly, I'd likely just stick with the LT trim, and I don't even know that I'd add any of the packages either. I mean, this is a pretty easy car to see out of for the most part, and that makes a lot of the safety systems just kind of unnecessary. And the added luxury that you're getting with the Comfort and Convenience package, or by jumping up to the Premier trim, and it's not going to convince you that you're in anything other than a Chevy. There's too much hard plastics around, and the seat adjustments just feel too cheap and flimsy. And speaking of the seats, they're not really long enough or wide enough or have enough bolstering or really just comfortable enough. Now, that's not to say that I'm not impressed with the Bolt, because I am. This is fun to drive. It's even a bit sporty with its 60 kilowatt-hour underfloor battery delivering the equivalent of 200 horsepower and 266 pound-feet of torque, meaning the Bolt jumps to 60 miles an hour in just 6.5 seconds. And there is nothing like that rush of instant electric torque. And all that weight underneath the floor means that it feels pretty planted too, although the skinny Michelin Energy Saver all-season self-sealing tires are just very easily pushed to their limits. And it can get a bit bouncy over rough terrain. Just the steering, thankfully, is really well sorted. Chevy's been doing a good job with their electric steering of late, and they deserve some kudos. So let's talk about energy. Driving up to Mount Diablo is about the worst conditions you can create for the Bolt. It's sustained high speeds followed by sustained climbing. About the only thing that could make it worse is if it were cold outside, because while AC doesn't do much to drain the battery, it's 100 degrees out here today. We've had the AC on the entire time. Heat will kill it quickly. But there are things you can do to mitigate the loss. If you drop it down into low gear on this very clumsy selector down here, you'll essentially have one pedal driving like you have with the i3 or the new Leaf. And that means that the engine brakes itself so assertively that there's really no need for the brake pedal other than in emergency stop situations. And in stop and go traffic and on shorter trips, I actually gain some energy rather than lose it. Now there is a paddle shifter on the back of the steering wheel here that can do the same thing if you want to keep it in regular drive mode, but I just keep it in the lower gear. Call me a traditionalist. When it comes time to recharge your Bolt, you do have some options. Use a traditional outlet and it's going to take a bit of time. If you make it home by 8 p.m. and leave for work 12 hours later, you'll have sucked up enough juice to add another 30 to 40 miles of range. But if you plug it into a 220 volt outlet like you'd use for a dryer, it'll add 25 miles every hour, meaning replenishing an empty battery overnight is totally doable. And with the optional DC fast charging unit for $750, it'll do 90 miles in just 30 minutes. That means you can drive until your battery is nearly empty, stop for lunch, and come back an hour later with a nearly full battery. Now currently there's a $7,500 federal tax credit that applies to electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids with a 16 kilowatt hour battery pack or larger. In certain states like here in California, they'll add another $2,500 or even more on top of that, which means that the Bolt EV, which starts at $37,495, actually drops down to less than $30 before you even factor in state level discounts. But what a lot of people aren't familiar with is that that federal tax credit actually has a cap on it. Once a manufacturer sells more than 200,000 vehicles, that rebate gets cut in half. And GM expects to hit that number later this year. What that means is that if you're looking to get into a Bolt, the time to do it is now, because the price is going to ostensibly go up by $3,500 next year. Of course, that also means that a lot of smaller manufacturers are going to gain a major price advantage on their hybrids and EVs in 2019, so keep that in mind as well. But for now, nothing really touches the Bolt. I put 100 miles on it in over a week of driving and then took it up a mountain without charging, and I still have 2/5 of my battery left. And I'm going to gain a lot of that back on my way down the mountain too. So stay tuned after the video to see exactly how much energy I got back. Hey, thanks for watching. For full details on the 2018 Chevrolet Bolt EV, just click the link in the description. You can head over to CarGurus.com and read my full review. And for videos of some of the competition, not that there really is any right now, well, just subscribe to the channel. Well, when we started going back down the mountain up at the summit, we had some 70 some odd miles of range. And now here at the bottom, we've actually made back more than 30. We're standing at 110. So I'm pretty impressed with that.